On July 16, 1943, the commander of the Vilna Ghetto underground, Yitzchak Wittenberg, acceded to Gestapo commands and surrendered himself to his killers to save the ghetto from collective punishment. This is how the affair we'll discuss in a minute was summed up by his successor in command of the underground, Porat Kovner. Indeed, Yitzchak Wittenberg, it was dawn, the 16th of, July 16th, 1943. It was a few hours before full light in the summer. He walked through the narrow ghetto alleys that are crowded with all the ghetto inhabitants to the gate, surrendered himself into the hands of the head of the Jewish Council, Jacob Gentz, and then to the Gestapo. This is the end of the affair. This is the Chairs Project. It's the 6th part, as you have heard. The topic is dealing with the past. The past would be this affair, and the dealing with it will be, as you will see, how each one of the parties to this tragic event, the most difficult event that the ghetto had undergone, how do they deal with it, with this past today? The affair, in short, it started when a communist cell, communist activists outside the ghetto, in the city of Vilna, were captured by the Germans, were very much afraid at that time from communist activity. They caught 2 of them. The 2 were tortured and committed suicide. But before doing so, before committing suicide, one of them gave the Germans the name Yitzchak Wittenberg as a communist acting in the ghetto, not as the commander of the underground. That's an important point. Anyhow, the Germans issued an ultimatum that the man must be handed to them within a few certain hours. And this ultimatum was given to the head of the Jewish Council within the ghetto. Yitzchak Wittenberg, the commander, was apprehended by Germans and Lithuanians. He was released by members of the underground. He ran around for a week in the ghetto, being disguised as a woman with a black dress and a handkerchief over his head. The head of the Jewish Council, in the meantime, tried to tell the ghetto inhabitants, they numbered 20,000 at the time, that the matter stands as 1 or 20,000. Either you give us this one, you find out where he is hiding, and you give it to us, or the 20,000 people are gone. The underground staff is actually sieged in a house, and the ghetto inhabitants are around pressuring the underground headquarters to give in, or to give up their commander. The ghetto is actually that night on the brink of a civil internal war. There are delegations coming to the besieged headquarters to put more pressure from the ghetto elite, from ghetto intellectuals, from the ghetto Jewish Council. In the meantime, the underground commander is cut off from all this because he's in hiding. He doesn't know that there are such pressures being put on his colleagues, on his friends. At the same time, there is a communist cell within the ghetto that is affiliated to the cell outside the ghetto. They know that 2 were caught and tortured, And they have their own deliberations that are set apart from the headquarters deliberations. And they come to a decision, the communist cell. They come to the decision that the underground commander, who is a member of the cell, should give himself up into the hands of the Germans in order to save the ghetto from collective possible punishment. The ultimatum was postponed a few hours and a few hours. The night is almost gone and it's almost dawn. Everyone is out like in a cooking pot. And they come to the decision that he has to give himself up. And they send him one of the members who knew where he was hiding. The headquarters did not know. And they tell him what their decision was. He's shocked, of course, because he's, as we said, he was cut off from all this scene. Then the communist cell also goes to the headquarters and convinces them to also go to the commander, and they go. And both the headquarters and the cell tell him what the decision is. He thinks it over. His girlfriend clings to him, but he let her go. He hands his revolver to Kovner, to his second in command at the time, and he leaves his hiding place and lets his clothes drop and walks the street of the ghetto to the gate. When he walks, the ghetto inhabitants who were out all night stand there and pay their respect to him, because he's sacrificing his life to save them. And at that time, they express expressions of old verbs and phrases from Jewish sources. And this is a bit outstanding. The man is a devoted communist, nothing to do with the old phrases. But he's described as a hero, as a person who sacrificed himself for the well-being of his community. He is arrested, and the next day he's found in his cell, dead, most possibly from poison. That's the story. Okay, it's one of the most tragic ones. Our topic is dealing with the past. That was the past. The affair, more or less the way it happened. The story was more complicated than that.